Uh, yes, good evening, everyone. This is exciting, yet odd. It's like I've done this for so many years in restaurants, and now I'm looking around going like, I just want to go like walk and say hello and look in your eyes, but I can't. So I'm just going to talk, and if you have any questions that pertains to any specifics about the wines, stop me, or something that I'm saying too fast, or you wish me to elaborate, just do so. But I'll begin with, as mentioned by Stephanie, my name is Francis Bertrand. I am the ambassador. I get to play. I get to drink, I get to share, I get to do fundraisers, and I'm proud and I'm happy to do so. I do live in the county, and worked as a sommelier for years in Toronto and Montreal. It has happened in the past where I'll say something and everyone sort of stops listening to what it is that I say, and they're trying to figure out where I'm from. So I'll just get that out of the way because it is quite odd. I know I am French from Montreal, it's first language. You will hear French words, and I also grew up in Australia, and I grew up in South Africa.
Okay. Yeah, I picked up on the South African. Me too. Yeah.
Okay, so sometimes it'll be a little bit more Australian or French. It's just where I grew up, but my languages are. So I just want to get that out of the way. So, okay, so I can go from what I think should be left to right, but I'm just going to play along. If there's something you want me to stop by, just let me know. But in my glass, I have the 2021 Mosaic. It hasn't been really released yet. It is 100% Chardonnay. We wanted to make this really crisp, really bright. If you drink bubbles, whether it's Lambrusco, you drink Prosecco, for example, or Sec in Germany, this is kind of the style. Chardonnay method, fermentation takes place, the double one takes place in the tank, meaning it's simple, it's crisp, it's light. It doesn't have the same pressure or fine bubbles or delicate bubbles, if you wish, as champagne would because of its method. It doesn't take anything away from it, but you will notice a different texture in the mouth. The other thing about texture is a really funny one with this one. This is by far crisper, almost steely, bright, but a lot of those will have lees contact or bâtonnage in the process of doing so. That creates much more texture. On the nose, you're playing with, let's say, perhaps Parmesan rind cheese, but this has much less bâtonnage, less lees contact with the fermentation. So that is why it's in that specific style. If it is something that you like or not, that's okay. But for us, we've realized that we perhaps would want a touch more lees contact, a little bit more texture, but that's us being judgmental, especially with ourselves of who we are and what we are. I may go back for a second just to mention something. It's going to be the 25th the anniversary of Closson Chase next year.
Okay.
So for us, we've been in the county for quite a number of years. Of course, this is not France. The vines, what you will be drinking this evening, or are drinking this evening, most of them were planted in 2002, 3, 4, and 5. So it's if you're going to compare to Burgundy, you're playing with sort of like a child versus an adult in terms of infancy. The ones are brilliant. They have something to offer. There's depth, there's character. And that's why we do Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. It works because of our soil, limestone and clay. And we are not trying to be something. We're very proud of our signature. We're proud that the wines do sing, some more than other. It does have a beautiful voice. And with that being said, I'm going to go a little bit further as we sort of move with the wines. Did everyone try the bubbles? Yes, no?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay. I see the deuce on the left. Okay, good. Cheers.
Yes. Yeah, very nice.
Okay, so I will sip a little bit, but I did do some tastings earlier today, so I will spit. So if I move away from the camera, that is what I'm doing. Also, okay, this is more personal, but I don't care because you're in a restaurant and this is usually my floor, so I'm used to this. I did get a puppy. It's a French Mastiff. if you hear me say something odd in French, it's going to be to her. Thank you for understanding. Okay, all right, let's keep drinking. Pinot Gris. The ridge is, okay, so the bubbles you just had, Mosaic, the fruits are from Niagara. 100% of them from Niagara, they are Chardonnay. We will be moving forward with fruits only from the county. To me, that's important because we want to make a distinction, not just Canada, not just Ontario, but specifically the county. There is a signature, but that's a conversation perhaps at a later date. So Ridge is what we call the vineyard, if you wish, that's right by our production site, right by the Purple Barn. If you ever come to the county, that's where it is. No malolactic, meaning there's no buttery notes. You don't have that sort of creamy or custard notes that you may get with Chardonnay. This is meant to be textural. Always is, especially Pinot Gris, not Pinot Grigio. So it's still clean, it's lean, play with lemon, stone minerality. So it's easy drinking, but I have to admit, I adore this one with certain cheeses because of its body. It's not that lean. It is lean, but if we move towards that sort of texture, you can feel it does have a little bit of body, especially for me moving from the Mosaic to the Pinot Gris in the mouth. So while I keep pouring, the most important question for me is if you notice any differences with what's in your glass. Sometimes the differences are subtle, sometimes they're quite mild, quite charged, whether it's oak usage or the vintage or any of those things. But if you, at one point today, this is my question to you, if you notice subtle differences between your wine and what those differences are, just as you play with the wines that we have. Right, next, I've got the 2020 vintage of the Chardonnay. It's called a Vineyard Chardonnay. Just gonna make sure I have my notes. Does anyone not drink Chardonnay?
Not usually in this bar.
No, huh?
Well, we do. Yeah, we do.
Is what on the wine list? I had a look on the website, of course. Do you have from California?
Yeah, yes, we do have some from California. Not as, but.
Okay. Is oak very present?
And those California ones, absolutely.
Okay, so so the Vineyard Chardonnay, you do have oak, obviously. To be specific, when we use oak, it's always medium toast. We do not go as far as saying the luxury treatment where it's entirely new oak with heavy toast. It is always medium toast. It's always from Burgundy that we use in terms of wood. And I just want to make sure I'm saying this right. Yeah, that's right. It's less than 10% new oak. I will ask the question, you don't need to answer just now, but I want you to pay attention. There's some that use 20% new oak, and then after it's neutral. I want you to pay attention about the oak is integrated. By that, all I mean is that if you have two wines that use the same amount of oak for the same length of time, how is it integrated on your palate? On the nose, different conversation. I don't want to touch that one. But on the palate, sometimes you will feel as if you're almost chewing on bark, or you will notice notes. So I'm pushing it a bit, but in certain wines, you may say to me, I don't see there's much oak, and I look at you and say, no, there's absolutely a lot of oak, but there's enough substance, there's enough fruit characters, there's non-fruit characters in the wines, allowing the oak to play its part without being the prominent notes. This is not California, not to be rude or to minimize California, because there's amazing producers over there that we don't always have access to. but they do beautiful stuff. But sometimes they use too much oak and it becomes its signature. It's sort of it's a classic song. The Vigneron Chardonnay to us is what we think a Chardonnay is from us. Bear in mind, 2020 was a warm vintage. Quite different. If you in your cellars, you have the 2019, much cooler, different notes, different fruit conditions that you may have. Whether we're playing with peaches or whether we're playing with lime juice. But this to me is what we want to make sure that show the rest of the world what PEC can do. Okay, so far you can all hear me. It's clear. Do I need to enunciate?
No, you're doing great.
Okay, do I need to bring my puppy out and a little bit of time on the screen? No? Okay.
Puppies are always welcome.
Okay, yeah. A French Mastiff, she's 4 months and she's already massive with a massive paws. She's a lot of fun. Okay, in my glass, South Clos Chardonnay. 2020 vintage, yes. Much more oak present. And I'm just going to make sure that I am saying the 20% correct. 20% new oak. And 80%, of course, season, meaning second or third usage of wood. Of course, you do have malolactic fermentation that took place here, hence its creaminess. So if you're gonna, for us, you do have the Churchside Pinot Noir. Okay, so for us, there's a street, Closson, that divides Churchside, one side of the street, South Clos on the other side. South Clos will always have, well, we'll have 10 acres of Chardonnay, 5 of Pinot Noir. Churchside, the opposite, 10 Pinot Noir, 5 Chardonnay. That street, that's sort of 100 meters, if you wish, between the two, is massive in terms of difference. But we think that the South Clos is what we want to showcase for Chardonnay, hence the reason why it's in your glass.
Yeah, I think it's my new favorite. I used to be the vineyard Chardonnay used to be my go-to, but I really like the South Clos.
So do I. Wood is present, it's notes, it's creaminess, but it sort of speaks to people at different point. I don't know if your palate is calibrated, what you've been eating, the kind of day you had, how much coffee, how much tea you've had, but I will always go back to this one, especially that year, because I can close my eyes, my shoulders will drop, and all is well with the world. I am mindful of temperature, so my white is always, it's not very cool. I'm sorry, it's not very cold. I sort of open it up, ambient temperature, for at least half an hour, if not more, after the fridge. The one little thing I wanted to mention before I forget, it's one of those, I'm just looking at the clock as well, so trying to be mindful as well. We are a cool climate region, and as things change, climate change, we are, some of those areas that are called cool climate are being looked at differently now than they were in the past. One of the reasons why, and I just want to touch on that one before I go further, is alcohol. Some of our wines are 13.7 at the most of them are 12.1, 12.5, 12.7. You used to get those in Napa. If you ever have access to Napa wines from the 70s, from the 80s, that's where they are. Burgundies, Bordeaux's, Côte d'Huron, even then. Now you're touching the 13.8, 14.2, 14.5. I'm not talking about Appassimento in Italy or Brunello or Barolo. It depends, but so people are drinking much leaner wines. They want to taste the fruit. Alcohol is not as present. You can drive, maybe have another glass. Those things are important. So we went to an event in Oregon for Pinot Noir, and a lot of people were saying, like, you guys did a brilliant job, both with the Pinot Noir and the Chardonnay, yes, but primarily the Pinot Noir, which we're about to get into, because it is cool climate, because it is refreshing to have wines at that temperature that are well made, because you can't get it the same way because of changing of the heat. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that up. just to keep that in mind when you get the wines. All right, so now I've got the Vineyard Pinot Noir, the 2020 vintage. Okay, did anyone, I'm gonna start this way. Did anyone not like that wine?
Vineyard Pinot Noir?
Yeah. Or did anyone think that it was perhaps, it would lean towards one sort of flavor profile more than another? Did anyone feel something strongly about this wine?
Yeah, it was much easier drinking than I was, like, there wasn't as many tannins. I found it a little fruitier than the others.
Okay. If you go back to it, I'm going to ask you if you can think of a blueberry pie.
No.
This is the vineyard one we're talking about?
The
Mm.
Pinot Noir. Oh, yeah, we're on a red.
We are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went to Reds?
Yeah,
Oh my God,
I think
we don't have
instead of-
Reds.
I think instead of doing like all three, like
Oh.
you're doing shards and then.
Oh, okay. We still have Shard in front of us, so.
Okay. Do you have a, hi, Francis, nice to meet you. Scorpio, Long Walks on the Beach. Did you have a question about Chardonnay?
Do you have a question about Chardonnay?
No,
Okay.
very nice.
No,
Yeah.
they're loving it. They're trying to finish those before they get into the red, so they were just trying to keep up, that's all.
Am I going too fast?
No, you're doing absolutely, your
Yeah.
tempos.
Alex is too slow.
My fault.
We're just gonna blame Alex.
Alex, are you the son? Are you serving?
Yeah, yeah, he's just, well, he's trying to pour for everybody, so he's
Yeah.
getting there.
We're just, yeah, I always tease him.
Yeah,
Okay.
tell the guests to go to hell. Just do your thing at your own pace, buddy.
Hey, we're here every week, watch it.
I've got this is my crew. I'm front of house restaurant people.
We love them, that's why we're here every week.
I get, yeah, clear. That's awesome. That's why, yeah, that's why we love what we do. Okay, so 2020 Vineyard Pinot. To me, blueberry pie. Okay, so that's sort of, I'm being playful with it, but I'm not, at the same time, not lying. I always look at the wine as if it's a grid. I don't know how many people are very familiar with the grid. Yes, Stephanie, of course you are. Okay. So fruit family, is it red, is it black, is it blue? Then I'll go to non-fruit family, usage, herbs, or natural, non-natural. But I describe it that way, but sometimes it's dangerous because it leads too many people to think one thing, because this also has red fruit family. I don't want to debate the conditions of those fruit, meaning are they overripe, underripe, just ripe? Are they candied? Are they dried? Are they like, but you do have the red fruit family in there. To me, this Pinot is lovely, simple, easy drinking. Please, please, please make sure the temperature is cooler. You can drink this on a hot day. It's pleasant. Be very mindful of what you eat with it, especially fat content. The acid is there to play with that contrast, but there's sometimes substance of its wine may get lost. So if you're going to play with wines like this, please choose your story carefully, because sometimes you want the wine to lead as the lead character in your story, or you want the food to take sort of over. So wine will just be playing along and cutting and just allowing for every bite of food to shine. This to me is sort of like plays well on the background, but if you have someone coming over on a Tuesday night, just open that bottle. It's easy drinking, simple. That's all. That's all we wanted to do. And a lot of lavender as well, and raspberries.
Yes.
But yeah. Now I'm moving to the 2020 Churchside Pinot. As I mentioned before, Churchside is what we feel is the soil, in terms of elevation, angles, heat pockets. To Churchside, that plot of land is ideal for Pinot Noir. We are focusing on it, and this is, if you're going to take what our signature would be, or perhaps a premier cru level for single estate, this would be it. And your vineyard is your village level, and so leave it at that for the moment. Okay. Beautifully fresh. Nice wood, nicely integrated. It does Tannins are present. Slightly grippy. Playing with raspberries, darker fruits as well. A little bit of sort of a herbe de Provence. You are 10% new oak and 90% seasoned. Okay, so here I've got cherry, red fruits, florals, dried herbs, cedar, which is lovely on the nose. Oh, that's right. I forgot. The first time we tasted it at the winery, we talked about it being smoky. Am I the only? Is anyone I've tasted it yet and found that out?
The church side.
Is that the church side Pinot?
I felt it had more of the county qualities than the other ones did, like it just smelled like county. I don't know.
What is county?
Like barn, like, I don't know, barn, manure, like those that I'm getting from it, like.
Did you say barn or barnyard?
Barnyard.
Yeah,
Barnyard.
manure. He literally said manure.
Yeah, barnyard.
Manure is I think it's a brilliant thing. I adore wines that are barnyard notes. Yes, it's religious for me. Yes, but that had those characteristics, Alex.
I say that, yeah, the church side had more of those than the other two. I found, like, I noticed more of the barnyard.
Yeah.
On the nose, anyways.
Pleasant.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want wines like that. Like when we talked about it, I wasn't certain at first, but the more I drank it, the more I'm like, am I touching on touch of leather? I'm not biting on a belt, just to be precise. No, I mean this just because you really get to taste leather if you do this. The world of wine is wonderful when you need to practice flavors and all those things, but the stuff you will do, like licking granite and rocks, and it's never mind. Maybe that. But this one has a long story to tell. I want to read this book. I want to see all the characters played together, and it has length. Not all wines will have that length to it. So take your sip, swallow, take a moment, try not to think about it too much, and count how many seconds you can still taste it after. Some of the wines you will have, to me, it sort of goes lovely, and then it just cuts short. Nothing wrong with the wine. It has merit, but it's just too short. This one slowly fades away. That, to me, is a sign of quality winemaking. Good fruit, good season, a little warm, but it is sort of what you want out of it. And I'm happy that this one has a bit more fruit forward sort of characteristics to it. Comparison to the vineyard, which not thin, but a little leaner, this one is a little bit more presence. And I'm doing this on purpose. What I'm saying, I'm sort of leading you on, because for those of you that have the 2019 South Clos Pinot, please bear what I've just mentioned. Please keep those words in mind in terms of depth and length when you taste it. So I will be quiet for like 6 seconds and 12. And do please take a moment. We're at 6:30 now. Yes, please take a moment and try the 2019 on your own.
All right.
Where Alex is trying to catch up.
I have more tannins in that 2019 for sure.
Oui, absolument.
That's the first thing that's the first thing that I noticed. Like,
Okay.
He's just moving
It's good though. I like the flavor of it. I find it a little darker
on. I like his big one.
Yes.
darker fruit flavor. Yeah,
The one that he.
it's really good.
So on the nose, is it the same as on the palate?
Okay.
It says 2020 on there. 2020, I have like 3 or 4 weeks in Sweden.
Oh, okay.
2 years. I still have. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not, I don't, it doesn't smell like it tastes.
Nor do I. The characteristics of the oak is definitely there. The tannins are, those ones are slightly silkier, not heavily, but slightly silkier than the Churchide. Yes, a year may make a difference. It did make a difference in this case. Much, much cooler climate. This one, I'm touching on sort of other notes of like almost baking spices, vanilla's there. My mind goes straight to oak usage, 20%. How long as well? So 18 months. You start playing with all those things, and you're like, okay, it has a wonderful structure, but what is it in the middle? What else is it telling you? This wine to me is, although it is only 5 acres, the fruit from that year, from that plot of land, to me made a wonderful Pinot. I am biased, absolutely. I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be to what I love, what I don't, and I'll say it. And that's actually easy because, yeah, I drink a lot. Different wines is what I meant. This alcohol to me, I keep on opening up and surprising people, because you sit back and you question almost like, who made this? Like, why is it so good? And I wanted to see if I was wrong, or if perhaps I was misleading, because I'm at a wonderful winery. It's gorgeous, the setting. So it's a bit unfair. People come and taste at the winery. It's a beautiful setting. If you leave Ottawa or Kingston or larger settings of Toronto and Montreal and you come to a winery, it's going to be beautiful regardless. So I said, I'm going to take these wines to Ottawa. I'm going to work as a sommelier in a restaurant on behalf of Closson Chase, but I will do a comparative tastings between Chardonnay, Pinot Noir from us, and Burgundy. Full-on comparative tastings. There's a menu you may choose. There's 10 different items, sort of small bites, if you wish, small plates, and see where we go with this and how our wines may shine, or if they don't, and really compare and choose Burgundies that are a little bit more expensive, fair enough, supposed to be, and see what guests say without sort of, I would always change the order as well. Like, no, do the Burgundy first, then do the county. No, with this dish, change it around and see what it says to you. And there's certain dishes I said, do not go for Closson Chase. Please drink the Burgundy first. It's by far much more interesting. It tells a much better story in terms of experience right now. I'm saying all this because I'm confident enough to know that our wines, even though young, they have something to say. There's a voice. Each wine, Salclos, Churchide, what you've had, the Mosaic, it's lovely, it's simple, it's crisp. Please have it. There's many other wonderful options out there too. But when you start with the Pinot Gris, you're like, okay, I see where you're going. But then you do the Chardonnay and the Pinot, you're like, thank you. This has its place, not just in the county, not just Ontario and Canada, but the rest of the world. I firmly believe that for all the right reasons, and I want to take it further. I want to showcase those wines because I think they deserve to be in people's homes and in restaurants. And thank you. That's it.
Very good. Does anybody have any questions for Francis? Before we go in for Jacob starts the medical progress.
So we keep going back to previous years and mentioning, what is your opinion, knowing that we're getting close to the end of the season of 2022?
He's wanting to know what you think what's going to happen. What do you think the wines are going to be like for 2022? There's one part, there's vineyard management that I was a little concerned about in terms of getting the quantity of rain that may bruise and damage. But we didn't have a lot of rain, then we had tons of rain. And we will not have the same tonnage, the same quantity in terms of yield. We will not, comparison to 2020. The fruit is there, acidity and sugar is there. We're happy. It was well done. We had no issues in terms of herbicide, like pests and all those things. We were actually quite lovely. It was really done. So I'm enthusiastic. I am. It wasn't overly hot, wasn't overly cold. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. My concern is going to be more like when it's time to actually pick, to see the quality of them, when you do whole clusters, to make sure everything is nice and clean and nothing is too stemmy or vegetal, that it's picked at the right time. I'm enthusiastic, but there's also a tremendous amount of work by the winemaker to make sure that those things come up.
Water was a concern.
Yeah, they're not, when's harvest?
Not yet. We're it's like everyone is like just vibrating right now because when you say yes to going, you cannot stop. You go and you go. But if you're too late or too early, you're like, this is a decision that haunts you at night. No joke. This is big. Like this is like, can you imagine someone like all the work you did like in 2021 sucked? Imagine someone said that to you. You're like, oh man, that's a lot of pressure. Like not just one project, like your entire year sucked. So there's a lot of stress right now.
Yeah.
That's a little insight that maybe I shouldn't say, but yeah, it's still true. If someone wants to talk about something else or where we're going or what's happening or there's.
No, there was a comment from the crowd. They just said that they tasted all of them and there isn't a bad wine in front of them.
No,
Oh.
Every single one is fantastic.
yeah, they're lovely, absolutely lovely. Yeah,
They do have their place. It's not for everyone because some people like just other varietals, other profiles. It's like an author or a singer, whatever. It makes no difference. We have our preferences, but I'm very proud of this.
yeah,
Can I
we
just-
love ours, so, but the shards are lovely, absolutely lovely.
They're not usually a Chardonnay. girl.
No, we're not
No.
usually, we don't gravitate Chardonnay, but yeah, they're lovely, all of them, and the Pinot Gris was just delightful.
Yeah, the Chardonnays with certain food,
Mm.
the wine will start speaking to you differently, just a different language. One that may resonate with you differently, but it's everyone's different, sure, but allowing it to shine, not Chardonnay as a varietal, but as a producer, try different ones to see what sings for you. There is one thing I wanted to mention, and Stephanie, I didn't say it to you, but we do have something called La Grande Cuvée, which
Yes.
is, okay, so let's say just Pinot Noir, since you mentioned you like Pinot Noir. So you take the fruit from or two plots of land, South Closson Churchside, barrel, fermentation, but they go in barrels. And depending on placement of barrels in the cellar, but you do take your 5 best barrels. You constantly taste nonstop. And you take those 5 barrels, you make something called La Grande Cuvée. And you treat it with more delicacy, different oak usage. And if you try it, it's one of those things you go like, now that sings. That is phenomenal. So if you ever see it, we have it in the white and the red. The reason why I'm also bringing this up is that we will not be doing this every year. It should not be done every year either. Because not every year you will have, I just want to go back to that question about 2022. If it's not made, doesn't mean it was a bad year, but to do like Grande Cuvée, to do those bottles, it has to be phenomenal. You can't do this every year because it loses its weight, substance, validity, presence. But if you ever see it, please have a look, especially the Pinot Noir 2019. And if you ever see a 2017 La Grande Cuvée Pinot Noir, it's one of those things, please keep it for 7, 10 years, 12 years and drink again and just, all is well with the world.
Yeah, 2017 is our year. We found everything 2017 was phenomenal.
So, 2013 did some beautiful stuff as well.
Okay, cool.
Now they got a shopping list.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're not gonna keep you much longer. We have our musician waiting to come in
Oh, yes.
next.
Thank you.